things off, Fish Mooney is back. Can you tell us about the decision to do that? Because we're very excited about it, or at least I am.
One of the things we set out to do when we first started the show was basically to build a world populated with people, that we could bring in and out of the world. The same way when you read, the comics, it's the case where someone will go away for a couple of years and then come back again. And so when we established Fish last year and then she kind of vanished, we're well, we always had the intention of bringing her back. And in fact, almost all of our characters, the characters we want to bring back, is so important. And also just Jada is awesome. And one of the ongoing themes we want to play in the show is, again, a theme from the comics is of transformation. And so you want to see people as one character and then see them develop and become another person. And Fish just had a real, she was able to make a great test subject of showing how we could do that in a very extreme way. And so since we left with a cliffhanger of her getting out of the band, we also wanted to pay that off in a substantial way. So she comes back at least for the first 2 episodes of this year and causes a lot of havoc. So.
Can you talk at all about the Court of Owls and how that is going to work in a timeline sort of way? Is that going to be right from the beginning of the season, or?
Yeah, it's one of the things I got to talk about and tell some stuff and not tell some other stuff. Obviously, we will see the court from the very beginning of the year. They will also arc through the entire year. I will see them, and they'll feature more substantially in the second half of the year. But we will visit them and learn more about them in the first part too. From the first episode, you'll see them. So. Sure, yeah. A lot of it is the case too, where we imagine sort of a continuum for all of our characters, and we want them all to drift backwards and forwards, on the axis towards the light or the dark or what have you. And so, even though you watch what Gordon did last year, and you're going, wow, how much worse can that get? It actually can get a lot worse. So we wanted a few of our core characters are going to go to really dark places. Substantially. I know that's such a vague statement. I'm so sorry. Gordon and Bruce and Selena all have really sort of dark and troubled journeys through the course of the year. So, sorry about that.
The process for determining which villains, how did we come up with Matt?
Oh, thanks, Stuart.
Oh, now I'm stuck to you.
A lot of it is just villains that you, as a fan, want to see. I always wanted to play X villain or Y villain. Some of it is the case of what villains we are allowed to use, which villains are not in Suicide Squad, or villains are going to be used for a upcoming movie. So you have among that rogues gallery, you have a certain limits your number you're going to take. Secondly, there's a decision on our part not to go with fantasy or too sci-fi of our villains. So we wanted to have villains who are the Batman villains who are more grounded in the real world. And for the Hatter, it's very much the case where I love the way he speaks. I've always loved the way he speaks, and he always feels like he always came at things with a level of anger and insecurity and a desire to belong. That was what was driving his psychosis, which I thought was an interesting sort of push for a villain. And he felt very colorful, and he would fit very much into the fabric of our world. And so that's the case, and then we've highlighted another half dozen villains that one or two we'll see this year, and the others we'll hopefully see in years to come.
What source material did you guys look at in order to build out characters, backdrop?
Sure. Lots of different things. Some stuff from the Batman universe, some stuff from beyond, obviously. There was a lot of Batman Year One kind of went into the look and the feel of the show. Some of the movie 7 went into a lot of it as well, and also Blade Runner, especially in the sense of the verticality of that world that we try to like bring into the world. Like you know, there's the world above, and then there's Harrison Ford always down in the group. We wanted everything to really, as much as possible, take place down there in the alleyways and the sewers, I suppose. So, yeah.
The show has some amazing dynamics between Bruce and Selena, and between Jim and Leslie. What can we expect from this relationship?
Going forward, in terms of Selena and Bruce, we're going to see a big step taken forward in their relationship this year. So we're really going to see the sort of the young Batman and the young Catwoman like together in a much more substantial way than they were in previous years. Because the approach we took this year was saying, okay, they are these iconic characters, and on the other hand, they're also 15, 16-year-old boys and girls who are attracted to one another. And so how is that going to happen? And what sort of damage can they do to one another to make it so that in the future, Batman and Catwoman can actually never quite consummate or have trouble consummating their relationship? So we're going to bring them together and actually have them both be meaningful to one another and have issues the way any sort of teenage romance is going to end up having issues. And in terms with Lee and Jim, issues will happen between season 1 and season 2 that will lead to problems in that relationship, more problems in that relationship, and a lot of the arc of this year will be Jim sort of finding his way back to Lee. So.
Can you talk about the decision to age Ivy Pepper up a little bit and how that might affect the Bruce and Selena dynamic?
Yeah, the decision was we thought it might be interesting to do, and we thought we could. There were storylines we wanted to play with Ivy that we were just not able to play with the actress being. She was wonderful. She did a wonderful job for the 2 years we had her, but we couldn't play the storylines we wanted to play with the age of the actress at the time. So she does age up early on. I mean, in season 1, and then because Ivy, the mentality of the Ivy that we have in our world is not quite the same as the Ivy who exists in the canon. She's a bit more of a loose cannon, and so she goes and creates a great deal of havoc in the world. And because she still is sort of like a 14-year-old, 15-year-old street teenager in the body of a 25-year-old woman, she doesn't know how to act in the world yet, and so she has to kind of like fumble her way about it. So.
What was it about the show that drew you to the project?
I mean, I've been a Batman fan since, I was young. I mean, for me, it was a case where when I was a kid, I was a comic book fan, I mean, like many people, I say my journey with many people of my generation was you read comic books, and then you had that moment when you read Frank Miller's Daredevil run, and you're like, oh my God, this is what they can actually be. And so for me, when Miller went over to do The Dark Knight Returns, I was like, that actually drew me to Batman for the first time, and so I started reading Batman heavily from that point onward. So then I came out and started doing different television shows, and then when Bruno called me about this, it was always just something that I had held in the back of my mind that I wanted to do. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Sure, pleasure. Thanks, guys.